Welcome to another episode of Bluecorp TechBytes. Today we have Dr. Varuna De Silva, Associate Professor at Loughborough University London, UK, to talk to us about a very exciting topic, AI. Let me give you a quick introduction about our guest today. Dr. Varuna currently leads the Machine Learning Lab at Loughborough University. He has also worked on many interesting projects. He has worked with Royal Mail, Chelsea Football Club, Dallas Mavericks, and Toyota UK. These are few interesting projects that he has worked on. He also works with international universities and collaborates on various projects. Some of the algorithms that he developed were once deployed in more than 1 billion devices around the globe. Welcome to Bluecorp TechBytes, Dr. Varuna. It's a pleasure to have you with us.
Thank you for welcoming me.
Now, Dr. Varuna, given the recent advancements in AI, it has created a lot of buzz, not just within the IT industry, but globally within all industries. AI has created a huge buzz. Now, given your expertise in AI and machine learning, it's very likely that you've worked with many interesting use cases with various companies and startups. Would you be willing to share with us a few examples of these use cases that you found particularly compelling?
I could. I could start with the most prominent work I've done in the recent past, which was with the Chelsea Football Club Academy, who were the supporters of a very ambitious project that I got funded by the UK government. So in this project, what we mainly did was to see if we can estimate or measure how good players make decisions under pressure. So this is not about their physical capabilities, this is about their cognitive capabilities under pressure. So specifically in football, we want to measure whether if one player passes the ball to somebody else, did they pass it at the right time? Did they pass it to the right person? And how did it end up in the end? Did it end up well to the team or not so well? On the other side, we could have a look at the defensive side of the game. So when you're trying to defend against an attacking team, how well do you defend? So that was the topic of investigation I had with a project funded by Dallas Mavericks NBA team. So in that particular project, it was slightly different. They wanted to measure how well the players use their body in the three-dimensional space to defend against attacking teams. Then I used to do a couple of projects attached to the National Center for Data Science and Artificial Intelligence in the UK, which is called the Alan Turing Institute. There is something called data study groups in which we connect with different organizations. As part of this, once I was in a project with HSBC, and another time a project with Shell. Currently I'm dealing with a couple of projects that involves government stakeholders in security and defense. These again to collect data about various situations concerning public health, concerning public safety, and to analyze them and get real-time feedback so that you increase the efficiency of what is being delivered. So yeah, that's a snapshot of kind of activities I have done in the past.
Thank you for those wonderful examples. Now, Dr. Varuna, the next question that I would like to ask you is, when you say AI, people think of traditional tech powerhouses like, let's say, Microsoft, Google, AWS, or they think about moonshot projects like, let's say, autonomous cars. Now, is it really necessary for a company to have millions of dollars as a budget, or to have a team of really good experts if they want to leverage in AI today?
So your question contains two very specific words. One is adopting AI, and another word was leveraging this AI. So these two words differentiate AI development from adopting AI into organizations. So for adopting AI, you don't need that. You don't need huge amounts of development time or very specific budgets for human resources, which is very costly. But for you to develop it, yes, unfortunately, you have to have it in some cases, especially if you want to develop artificial intelligence that rely on significant amounts of data, which sometimes require significant amounts of computational power in terms of GPUs or graphical processing units, or what nowadays you have something called tensor processing units. These are very specific hardware types which can process huge amounts of data at the same time to generate artificial intelligence. Now, for you to do that, yes, you need significant amounts of computational resources, and you require significant amounts of human resources because and skilled human resources at that to be doing these things, because it's very time taking. It's very time taking, and you have to. It's like you dealing with a huge black box which you don't understand exactly what happens, and there's a lot of trial and error going on with this kind of approach, and a lot of theoretical thinking that goes behind, and that comes at a cost, unfortunately. So the short answer, specifically for your question that has the words adopt and leverage existing AI, you don't need that much of resources. But if you were to develop artificial intelligence, you need resources.
Thank you, Dr. Varuna. Now, we have seen that a lot of small business owners and a lot of startup founders are interested in integrating AI into their business, but they are not sure about where to start or when to start. So what would your advice be to them?
So the first point is that the best answer to that question is to asking them to get familiarized with what artificial intelligence and what is not. Okay. So for example, data visualization is not artificial intelligence. Okay. Artificial intelligence is the process of creating intelligent agents. And it has been there for a very long time. And nowadays, the difference is that you can leverage data to create these artificial agents that make intelligent decisions. Now, having said that, what we are mostly concerned about is what is called machine learning, which is the type of artificial intelligence that improves with the availability of more and more appropriate data. Now, why I say that they have to understand what artificial intelligence is, that there are common misconceptions. I have seen people talking about data visualization. Nice visualizations as artificial intelligence. It is not artificial intelligence. Okay. Not to mean that visualizations are not important. In fact, that can be more important than a very complex AI algorithm. It's just that you need to know what artificial intelligence is. So, and that's easy. Nowadays, you have a lot of open source courses, very simple courses, just to get familiarized with what these things are. And what is very important, in fact, the most important thing is to be able to understand what is the problem you have. Most people don't know what problems they have. So you can be a problem identifier even without being an AI expert or machine learning expert. Right? So it is about you being critical about where your organization is, what is happening with your organization, and where's the bottleneck. So this is about you understanding the problem. So there are frameworks like SMART, specific, measurable, actionable, relevant, and time-based. So this is similar to the way we sometimes we set goals, right? The same framework can be used to define problem statements. So there's a saying that a problem well stated is a problem half solved. So if you can state the problems in your organization, then you can decide if artificial intelligence is the best way to solve it or not. Okay. So yes, once you know the problem, then you can leverage consultants or a graduate in AI, machine learning, computer science domain, or someone generally aware of these different algorithms, just to get a feel for, can you solve these problems with this with artificial intelligence. Then obviously they will ask the question, do you have these data sources? Do you have this different data that we need to solve if AI is your approach to solve this problem? Yeah. So that is very important. So you defining, you understanding what AI is, and then you going and looking at your organization and the problems you have in your organization. For example, there may be a supply chain issue, right? You don't know where the bottleneck is. Now, can you solve a supply chain issue with AI? I don't know. I don't think so, unless you can really specifically mention where the problem is, and that can be solved with data-driven efficiencies. So one thing is that you understand the problem, defining it properly, then engaging with the experts to see if this can be a problem that can be solved with data or AI. Remember, it's not a panacea. Okay, at the end of the day, you are limited by what kind of data you can collect. So whether you have the data or not will predicate whether you can benefit from artificial intelligence or not, right? And along those lines, you need to realize whether you can access the data, whether you can collect the data that is necessary to solve this problem. So this is how I would go about. Learn about AI, what it is and what it is not. Try to define the problem and then engage with those who are knowledgeable. And then to understand if you can actually get this data, have access to the data, or start collecting the data that is useful to solve these problems.
Thank you, Dr. Varuna. So now, once they've figured out the problem and how to solve the problem using AI, they always come to this place where it's difficult for them to actually convince their investors. So what would be some of your tips for these startup founders who wants to persuade the investors to invest into AI?
So this comes to the fundamental problem of you being able to sell your ideas to somebody else, right? So you can do a lot of things with AI. Just because you can do a lot of things with AI doesn't mean that you have to do those things with AI. There may be other very easy ways to solve problems. Okay. So what you need to do is you need to be able to communicate what you have to these people. Who understands most of the bottom line? How does it change the bottom line? Okay. So how does it create value? So value is the word here. You've been able to show other people the value that you can create from leveraging AI or machine learning or data science, data analytics is the most important thing for you to make sure investors and CEOs and high management are in line with you. Okay. They will ask you the question, how do you make sure that these things get converted into value in your organization? And what you also need to measure then is the value that you generate. Can you measure it? And how much value, how much cost does it go on to create this value? Is it really worth it? So these are cost-benefit analysis that you need to do. So value from data can come from two ways, in my opinion, basic two ways. One thing is the efficiency savings in our current operations, or by generating new data-driven services, data-driven products. So these are the two main ways I believe most things can fit into in the corporate world. There may be other ways, but for me, these are the two main methods. Again, with these things, you need to be able to say, right now, our supply chain takes this much of time, or this much of cost, or this much of carbon emissions, for example. So how are we going to minimize this? If we minimize it by 10%, this is the value for our organization. We are going to get more customers. We are going to increase our profits or something by this much. So that is your bottom line. That is you showing the business case. And then you're going one step backwards and say, okay, what is your approach to do this? So you say, in our organization, we have these data sets, which is very easy to access. It has been collected. This is our asset. We are not making use of it. Here we go. I need to pay for a data scientist or a graduate to be doing something. Can you fund this? Now, that's a better way of selling your idea to convince these stakeholders. So I think what's important is to be thinking about the value you generate, constantly thinking about the value you generate.
Now, when talking about AI, there's always this topic that a lot of us talk about is the concerns about AI. Will AI replace human workers? But we've also seen that some systems, some AI systems, actually need labor-intensive tasks, like data labeling, to actually succeed. So now, could the growth of AI actually create new type of work, even for those who do not have AI expertise?
Yes, it could potentially create new jobs, like what you mentioned. Labeling is a good example, which is very labor intensive. But whether you can create specific jobs for data labeling, yeah, quite possibly. And then, for example, nowadays you have ChatGPT, where some people predict that in the future, the new type of job that could come is prompters, who ask the right questions from ChatGPT to get these answers and collect these and put them together to provide coherent answers. So obviously, there is going to be new jobs that are created. However, it's important to realize these jobs are to address gaps in current artificial intelligence. So for example, prompting job will not be there in 10 years' time. It will be there in the next 1 year, 2 years, and so on. So because AI keeps on getting developed as well. So where I believe jobs will be created because of artificial intelligence is in non-technical domains. For example, when people get consumed by technology, and when artificial intelligence start to do most of the things for the humans, humans will be bored. What they will need is mostly emotional help. So where can you get emotional help? Currently, machines can't give that. It's humans who can give that. And then the creative side of things. Can machines be really creative? And people are trying to do so, but not yet. It will be very soon, very fast. But yet, human creativity goes well beyond that. Humans are surviving because of their creativity, because their ability to come up with tools, their ability to come up with different other problems to solve. For example, if humans do not get, human gets displayed by certain jobs, then there are other jobs, because we are very good at creating problems for ourselves, humans. For example, we have created a huge mess in our oceans, in our planet. There's a lot of global warming issues. So there are a lot of other new jobs that you could potentially do. And this kind of things will become prominent. So I do not see a lot of tech jobs being created because of artificial intelligence. Most of the tech jobs will get displaced. Yeah, where I see mostly is to do with the emotional help for the humans being creative. I think there's always a space to be creative. I don't think even if machines are creative, humans will acknowledge that as a creative exercise. And finally, there are more impending problems, very significant problems of our times and of the next decade and next coming decades about the planet, which we really need to be thinking about. We keep consuming a lot. We are being very affluent nowadays. With affluence comes effluence, they say. So there are a lot of problems to solve, really, but they are not necessarily technical, in my opinion.
So that brings us to the end of this webinar. And Dr. De Silva, I would like to thank you again for your time. and for sharing your knowledge and thoughts with us.
Thank you very much. Thanks for inviting me.